yeah, happy Friday, y'all. Today's topics, we'll be talking about CTR optimization, internal linking, and ranking factors. With a very special guest today, Cyrus Shepard. Thank you, I see a bunch of you already on. Don't be shy, say hi in the live chat. Let me know where you're watching from. We got about 7 minutes to go. This is going to be a cool one. We're going to be talking about CTR optimization, internal linking, and some Google ranking factors. Oh yeah, I see a bunch of you just coming in. Don't be shy. Say hi in the live chat. Oh yeah, happy Friday, y'all. We have about 5 more minutes to go. This is gonna be a good one, guys. Be sure to say hi in the live chat and where you're watching from. Today's topics, we'll be talking about CTR optimization, internal linking, and some Google ranking factors with our special guest, Cyrus Shepard. Don't be shy, y'all. Happy Friday. Be sure to say hi and where you're watching from when you join. Oh, I see Cyrus in the back room. Cyrus, my man. Can you hear me okay?
Doing okay. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. All right, you look good, sound good. Very exciting. All right, so I'm going to go over a few more. In the very beginning, I go over like a few videos I found over the past week. And about maybe 8 minutes in after 12, I'll introduce you, and then we can get the conversation going.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm going to put on a different jacket. I don't think I look very professional. I'll be right back.
All right, all right. Ah, Stefan, my man. Happy Friday. Don't be shy, guys. We got about 3 more minutes to go. Let me know where you're watching from. Say hi in the live chat. I see a bunch of you out there. Don't be shy. Say hi. Hey, y'all. Happy Friday from Tampa. Looking forward to this one. What's up, Ethan? Ernesto, Dre Dog. What's up, my man? Victor, looking forward to today's topics. Happy Friday, fellas. What's up, Victor? Maddox Fry. Excited for this one. What's up, my man? All right, guys, we got a little bit about less than 2 minutes, about 2.5 minutes to go. Don't be shy. Say hi in the live chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Today's topics, we'll be covering CTR optimization, internal linking, and some Google ranking factors with our special guest today, Cyrus Shepard. Yasmin Haas, happy Friday! Anastasia, hello! Alright guys, get your questions ready. I will answer them or address them in the order that they are received. We have Cyrus in the back, looking fly, with his jacket. Love it. If you're just joining, don't be shy, guys. Say hi in the live chat. Let me know how you're doing. How hot or cold it is in your area. It's pretty warm, but I got my air conditioning on, which is why I still got a hoodie. All right, guys. So we got about 1 more minute to go. I'm gonna get things ready here. I'll see you guys on the other side. Don't forget, don't be shy. Say hi. And let's get this thing started.
Time to get it started, no delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre de Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO Video Show. Hey!
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO Video Show where SEO is alive and fun. Hold on.
Time to get it started, no delay, let's
All
work.
right, hold on. Welcome to another episode of the SEO Video Show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre de Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is the founder of Sightseer, Cyrus Shepard. Before we get started, let's say what's up to everyone in chat. I see Stefan, Ethan, Ernesto, Victor, Maddox, Andrew, Yasmin, Anastasia. Welcome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Why do SEOs love the farmer's market? Lots of organic content.
Google recently updated the article structured data documentation to reflect that article markup is open to all types of pages. Let's check out some of the best practices by Google on implementing structured data.
Keep the structured data relevant. Using structured data that has nothing to do with the contents of the page is considered abuse and can result in penalties. But even beyond that, try to focus on describing the core meaning of the page. For instance, if you have a product page selling a particular product and you list all the related products in the markup without differentiating the main product on the page, that will make it all the harder for us to use that information. Try to use unique identifiers. Some of our features recommend or require some sort of unique identifier explicitly. But in general, giving us a stronger identity signal helps us disambiguate the names of things in your data so it shows up for the right queries. For example, giving the street address for an event location rather than just the city, or using an ISBN when describing a book, or adding a social profile link for an author of an article. Look for conflicting or redundant structured data. A very common problem we see is multiple CMS plugins or separately authored JSON-LD blocks generating the same data with slightly different information. This can sometimes appear like several different things on the page, which can potentially exclude the page from having a visual feature. Examine Search Console reports to look for these problems.
We love structured data here on the SEO Video Show. Be sure to check out Martha van Berkel's episode 91 to learn more about schema. Okay, Kyle Rulf gives us 2 quick ways to spot toxic links that will harm your site. Let's check them out.
How to spot a potentially toxic link from a dangerous site. So I'm going to give you 2 quick things you can check to see if this is potentially a bad site that is going to send you a toxic link. All right, first, do you know who owns the site? Can you quickly look at the site and determine who is responsible for this content, who owns it, are they a real company? Sites that send toxic links, you won't be able to identify who they are because they don't want you to know who they are because they're trying to hide that fact. So if you can't quickly identify who owns the site or who is responsible for the content, that's red flag number 1. Number 2 is the number of outbound links. Are there a crazy amount of links going out of this site? If that's the case, then that site is clearly built just for link building purposes, and the more outbound links it has, the more likely it is that that site is damaged.
Personally, I will disavow some toxic links. What are your strategies on combating toxic links? Let me know in the description or in the live chat below. Can SEO make you rich?
So a question I get pretty often is, can SEO make you rich? And a lot of people, get into this industry because they're hoping to make tons of money. And there is tons of opportunity to make a lot of money in the SEO industry. But the truth is, you're not going to become rich just by earning a lot of income. You also have to understand what to do with that income to actually turn it into a scalable way to actually build wealth. So it's not just about earning as much money as possible, but you also have to understand how to save that money and how to invest that money the right way. So if the answer is yes, it's possible, but if you're thinking about what's gonna be the fastest way to earn the most money, then, client SEO, I think, is really the best option because you can get that cash flow every single month and you can take that money and reinvest it into other revenue streams, which is what I personally did. So that's what I would recommend if you're trying to build wealth as fast as possible in SEO.
Being rich is subjective, but I'll tell you from experience that being an in-house enterprise SEO can be pretty lucrative. Our guest today was on a show earlier this week, and he shared some internal linking strategies for SEO success. Let's check it out.
Audit your anchor text. Keep in mind, your anchor text variations are your number 1 things that you're going for when internal linking. Don't sleep on your image alts. Make sure all your image alts are tucked away tight. Link for both pages, the source page. If you want to improve the ranking on this page, add internal links from that page to other relevant pages because it might improve your engagement. You might see your Google traffic go up. Link high and tight. Keep those important links high on your page. Avoid link first priority if you're linking from your navigation and your body, and leverage automation.
We can get more into detail about these strategies in just a moment. This brings me to my favorite part of the show. Be sure to ask questions in live chat and I'll address them in the order that they receive. Please like and subscribe while I get things ready here.
Cyrus is an SEO, online marketer, content post, speaker, and writer. He has led SEO at Moz since 2010 and educated thousands with Whiteboard Fridays. He's worked with dozens of both startups and Fortune 500 companies. He's spoken at MozCon, SMX, Martin Festival, Marketing Nation Summit, MNSR Summit, and more. He's an author at the Moz blog, Above the Fold Marketing Pilgrim, Inbound Marketing, and SEO Wiley, How to Rank, and contributor to Beginner's Guide to SEO. Please welcome the founder of Sites Here, formerly Zippy, Cyrus Shepard.
Woo!
Cyrus,
Oh my
my
God.
man.
Oh my God. In the 13 years I've been doing this, that is by far the best introduction I've ever heard or received. So thank you. The energy level is at a 13 right now.
Thank you for being a special guest today. All right. Cyrus, my man, I can just remember you as long as I've been doing SEO. I want to just welcome you to the show, and I want to get right into it. This is the first question I ask all my SEO professionals when they join. In 1 minute or less, how does Cyrus get ranking on page 1 of Google?
All right, I'm timing it. Here we go. So, 3 steps to ranking #1 on Google. First, you need content that answers a user's question or user's search query, and it needs to do that pretty well. That's how you qualify to rank, but that's not going to get you on page 1. For page 1, you need links. So you need content, and then you need links, and that's just the way it is. Google likes to underplay the need for links, but you need links. But that's not going to get you to the top of the page. The top of the page, you're going to need those user interaction signals. You're going to have to actually satisfy the user, and that means people aren't clicking back and to search for another result. They're spending time on your page. You've satisfied the query, and that's how you rank #1 on Google. That only took 47 seconds.
Love it. First knowledge bomb today. But hold on, let me rewind this real quick. Cyrus, take us way back, over a decade ago. How'd you first get into SEO?
Oh gosh, I spent a lot. I have a film degree, right? I went to USC Film School. Same school George Lucas went to, Steven Spielberg went to, but I did not become George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. I became a waiter. I did a lot of jobs, firefighting, acting, but I spent most of my time waiting tables. And as a struggling writer, I just didn't make it. So I started building my own websites, right? Mm-hmm. And just like everybody else, I needed to learn how to market those websites. And I was looking into everything, AdWords, spammy affiliate stuff. And then I found SEO, and it was like a light bulb, right? Because I hate sales. I hate sales with a passion. My first job out of high school was telemarketing. I would call people and try to sell them coupon books that they didn't need or want. And it was horrible. I lasted like 3 days. But with SEO, I didn't have to do any selling because people would come looking for you, and you could deliver them content exactly when they were looking for it. It was like you were actually helping people. So it was like a light bulb went off. So my first client was actually my wife's company that she worked for. They were $1 million business, and they had 1 page of their website indexed by Google. We came in, we opened it up, hundreds of pages. Their business took off. And then I started working for SEO Moz at the time, and things went on from there. I can go further into it, but that's how I got my start.
Love it. Okay, you got your start, but you didn't let us know how'd you learn it. So how'd you actually learn SEO?
Man, my feet were in the fire. So I want to take you back to those times at SEO Moz, circa 2011. And at that time, it was arguably the biggest, most visible, most successful SEO company, in the world at the time. And I had been there just a few months working in customer service, helping people with their software issues. And they needed to hire an in-house SEO. They had ran Fishkin, but the CEO of the company, but they needed someone to do SEO for SEO Moz. And they knew I had some experience, so they promoted me into that position. And this is like 1 year into my career. I'm doing SEO for the biggest SEO company in the world. And in that first month, I was taking meetings with, Facebook and Amazon, where they'd come in and we'd talk about their ranking issues. What a surreal experience. So I went from waiting tables to, a year or two later, I'm sitting with Facebook talking about why their page on Britney Spears isn't ranking as well as Twitter's profile of Britney Spears. And I'm like, holy cow. How did I get here? It was amazing. But the truth was, we had answers to that. Why it was pretty obvious to an average user, these issues that these companies were facing. And I realized that it didn't matter how big the company was or how big the problem was. SEO principles applied across the board. And so I had imposter syndrome. It was a big deal, but I just learned by doing and being thrust into this high visible position and just saying, well, let's do it. And let's teach other people how to do it. And that was the fun part of the journey. Everything I did, I got to write about on Moz. And that's probably been a key element is the teaching others.
Learning by doing and teaching others. Love it. All right. So I want to go into at the time too, what were some of your resources then? Like, were you like going to following other people or like visiting other sites and other blogs and stuff like that back then?
Yeah. So because I had a job at SEO Moz, helping with the Moz Top 10, which was this, huge newsletter with 500,000 subscribers at the time, I read everything. I read every SEO article published. I followed every SEO person on Twitter, which at the time was only like 250 people. We all followed each other. It was very insular. And writing the content. So I developed an encyclopedic knowledge of SEO and absorbing all the history over the past 10 years, reading every article that was published. But I also got to work with a lot of great people. Dr. Pete, Rand Fishkin, so many great people at Moz, and we would run experiments, and we got to do some fantastic things. Like at one point, Follower Wonk, which was a tool we acquired. We had Google's Disavow tool. We disavowed. We de-indexed Follower Wonk for a while. We de-indexed $1 million tool for the sake of an SEO experiment, and we got to. No company is going to approve that, but we got to do it at Moz because for the sake of SEO science. So big opportunities, but that's the key. Read everything, learn everything, experiment, dive in. SEO is so deep, you'll never get to the bottom of the barrel. There's always something new to learn, and some new experiment you can perform.
Love it. So let's go back to the Follower Wonk, because I do remember that tool. What was the experiment about? What were you testing there when you de-indexed all the pages?
Yeah, I remember this was a time in SEO where we'd do these crazy experiments. Dr. Pete had these crazy canonical experiments where we'd purposely try to break Google with the canonical tag. I remember my own site, CyrusShepard.com, which is now Zippy. I was confusing my experiments at the time, but we disavowed every link to my site, every single link, to see what Google would do. But with Follower Wonk, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Let's focus on Follower Wonk.
No.
Follower Wonk, we decided what would happen if we de-indexed every page from the site, and we removed it from Google using Google Search Console, and it disappeared from the SERPs. And as soon as we undid everything, it returned within a few hours. And that was the point of the experiment. How long would it take Google to recrawl and re-index everything? It was almost instantaneous. We lost almost no business from it. But it was, one of those great things.
Love it. But so you actually brought in another experiment that I'm actually curious about, because you said you actually disavowed links, a bunch of links, within your sites. Was it within your personal sites? I mean, what was the experiment there, and what were some of the results?
Well, Google at the time said, if we think you made a mistake in your disavow file, we might ignore it. We might ignore the links that you disavow. The idea being that Google treats your disavow file as a hint, like everything else. So I wanted to see what would happen if I disavowed every single link to my site that I could find. So I went through Google Search Console, used Ahrefs and Moz, find every link that I could, put them all into the giant disavow file, and I disavowed every single link. And what happened was basically nothing. I lost no traffic. At the time, that it was around the time Penguin hit, there were some weird things going on, but my site wasn't de-indexed. I still got traffic, and it was interesting. So it seemed like Google was ignoring the disavow file. I'm not sure what would happen if we ran that experiment today. It's been a while, but I think it goes to the point that Google treats a lot of things as hints. They may ignore links. They may ignore your canonical tags. They may ignore your hreflang tags. They may ignore your no-follow tags. Everything with Google in 2022 is a hint. And they try to figure it out because people like us, SEOs and marketers, the web is a really messy place. And so they have to try to make sense of it.
Excellent!
All right, so I want to go into some of the topics that we wanted to cover today. I mean, there's 3 things that I wanted to cover, but I want to get into something that you actually spoke about earlier this week, which is something about internal linking. I know you, for those who missed that presentation, the link is in the description to watch the full presentation, but if you guys missed it, we're going to talk about a little bit right here. You mentioned 6 different strategies on internal linking. One of the first ones is audit your anchor text coverage. I mean, can you explain what that is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a huge study at Zippy earlier this year where we looked at something like 22 million internal links. And we also looked at traffic to all of those pages. It's the first study that I know of that looked at internal links and actual traffic that was verified through Google Search Console. So we could start to associate certain properties with those internal links. Instead of just saying, this is, make sure you use internal links, what do they look like? And what we found was, it's not necessarily the number of internal links that is associated with traffic, but it was the number of different anchor texts. And we found that anchor text and anchor text variety and the richness of the different anchor texts played a much larger, was more associated with higher traffic than just raw number of links. And so a lot of SEO tools, will give you like a Moz rank or a page rank equivalent, Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, they all do this. But what we're finding is more important is actually your anchor text. And that's not always emphasized enough in internal linking. So I think instead of auditing your internal links, you really need to be auditing your internal anchor text.
Love it. All right. So the second one was also never miss an alt text anchor. What's that about?
Yeah. So in our data set, we found that 5% of links were empty. They had no anchor text whatsoever. And that's a missed opportunity. And when we dug in a little further, we found the vast majority of those were image links. And so a lot of people, product pages, CMS are just not filling in those image links. It's really easy to do. And here's the thing with Google, when they find an image link and a text link on the same page, both those anchor texts count. And we've tested this recently. So it's an opportunity to get more anchor text variety. You can have 2 different anchor texts on the same page, but you got to fill in those alt attributes on your image. And it's good for accessibility. But people, when we dug into the data, people are sleeping on that. It's a great opportunity, SEO opportunity if you're auditing a client site. Look for those alt text, especially when they're images. It won't have a big SEO impact, but it's something that you need to cross your T's and dot your I's.
Love it. Dropping all these knowledge bombs. Okay, link for source pages. What's that about?
Yeah. So we dug into a lot of studies, and this is something we used to do at Moz all the time. So let's say you have a page and you want to increase the rankings of that page. So you add a bunch of internal links to that page. Traditionally, you're thinking, I'm going to increase the traffic to that target page, the page I'm linking to. But what we find again and again and again in experimentation and real world results is not only does that page rise in rankings, but the page that you linked from also rises in rankings. So, at Moz, if we had an outdated page and it was declining in traffic but still relevant, one of the easiest things we could do to that page is just add some links to the top of the page saying, hey, you're on this page looking about local SEO. Here's some other relevant links to local SEO on the site that you may find relevant. And by doing that, the pages that we linked to rose in rankings, but also the old page that we added links to rose in rankings. So it's a great link for the source page. If you want to find a page that you want to improve, try adding internal links from that page. Simple strategy.
Love it. Okay, we're coming down to link high and tight. What's that?
Yeah, so consider this is a really old strategy concerning reasonable surfer, the original Google page rank, that Google is more likely to reward links that people actually click on, as opposed to not. And I remember Matt Cutts. I can't find this anywhere on the internet today, but I remember Matt Cutts in an interview somewhere, I think it was at a PubCon or something like that, saying, pay attention to the first link on your page. And then he stopped for a minute and he said, pay very close attention to the first link on the page. With the idea that what I took that to mean was those links at the top of your page are going to pass more page rank than the links at the bottom. A great example is what I was just talking about, we always see those related article widgets, right? If you enjoyed this article, you'll also enjoy, and they're inevitably at the bottom of the article or in the sidebar. I recommend, if they're internal links, I recommend putting them front and center at the beginning of your article or high up tight. Put your most important internal links at the top of your articles where people are actually going to click them. And don't put them at the bottom. Don't put them in the footer. Keep them at the top of your article. I used to write entire articles just to get that first internal link.
Oh, love that tip. And I actually noticed that on zippy.com. I was looking like your related links are like on the top of your articles. Love it, love it. Okay, second to last one, avoid first link priority.
Yeah, so that's the idea. This is kind of an advanced concept, but that's the idea when you have two links on the same page that link to the other same page. So this is very common if you have something in your navigation. Let's say in your navigation, you link to your top product. So that's being linked to from every page on your site. But then in your article, you also link to your top product. Well, Google has this rule called first link priority, and it's not a hard and fast rule. We've been doing some experimentations with it. But when you link to both pages on the same page, Google generally only counts the first anchor text that they find. So that means you have two links, but you only have one anchor text. So there are some strategies to get around that, such as an image link is one way to get around that, because they'll count both anchor texts. And I have some advanced strategies around that I don't think I'm prepared to share today, but I'll be sharing in an upcoming webinar in about a month or so. So I'm not going to divulge all the secrets, but that's one secret.
Oh, good. Love it. All right. The last one is leveraging automation. It's all about automation these days. So what's automation in internal linking?
So I'm actually not a huge fan of automation in SEO. Generally, I think most of these problems can be solved by a human, but with internal linking at scale, traditional techniques really kind of fall short. A very common practice when you want to internal linking is do a site search, where you search for your keyword. In Google, you see what pages are ranking, and then you add links to that. Those processes are fine, but they're not as good as some of the more modern internal linking solutions that look at topical relevance. They see if a link already exists, looking at anchor text. So I'm a big fan of tools like InLinks, Twilio. I've been using it for a year. I can't pronounce it. Sightseer, which was formerly Zippy, which we kind of split that up a little bit. So I am a fan of automation and internal linking, or Link Whisperer for WordPress. Great solution. These internal linking tools really make a difference because they can do things at scale that our human minds, or even just using Google, can't really accomplish.
Love it, guys. If you guys are loving this, don't forget to ask your questions in the live chat, and I will answer them in the order they were received. I got a few more questions myself here, but I want to go into our second topic here. This is where I actually, listen to a lot of your talks, a lot of your presentations, like at your conferences. It's all about CTR optimization. This is something that it looks like, from my understanding, like how you split Zippy with Sightseer, and now it's like, I guess it's more of a tool. And can you tell us, like, why is CTR optimization important? And and we can go from there.
Yeah. So I am a fan of CTR optimization, but I want to be clear that Google, and we can really get into this if you want. While Google, there's lots of evidence of Google using user interaction and click signals, including looking at what users click in search results. Google has an out in that technically they most likely don't use actual click-through rate as a ranking factor. They may use variations and click signals, but CTR specifically, they probably use something much more sophisticated than that. But to us, the SEO, the person responsible for web traffic, a higher CTR is a good shorthand to talk about. It simply means when I'm in the search results, I'm going to get more clicks because people are clicking on my result. And getting to my site. So whether or not Google uses CTR as a ranking factor really is irrelevant, because it simply means you're going to get more clicks one way or the other. If you can increase your click-through rate 50%, that's 50% more traffic, even without ranking higher. So that's why when I talk to my agency friends and they need to move the needle quickly on a client site, there's 2 things or 3 things that they will quickly iterate on, and that is title tags and meta descriptions. It sounds easy, it sounds elementary, but it moves the needle, especially when they're under optimized. And second is internal linking. So when we started building out our tools, those are the first two things we started working on.
Love it. Okay, we got a question here from the audience. Speaking of clients and agencies, hi Cyrus, from Stefan. How do you manage the time between multiple clients and projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. My answer is poorly. I'm really bad at it. So I don't take on a lot of clients, and when I do, I usually go all in, and it takes all my time. I've never worked for an agency. I've worked with agencies, and I've sort of seen their processes and the way they handle and juggle multiple clients. It's a great way to learn, juggling a lot of clients at once, but it's not my own style. I'm generally a one client at a time person. Generally, I work on my own projects. So yeah, the answer is poorly. But yeah,
love it. That's the final play that answered your question. But okay, back to like optimizing your meta titles and meta descriptions.
Yeah.
I want to get tell us the story between how you split Zippy and what is SiteSeer all about now, and kind of like the key factors of getting that perfect title, or that's the optimized title.
Yeah. So one thing I like to do, my old process, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the title optimization process.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned a long time ago in increasing click-through rate is the easiest way to increase click-through rate, and usually rankings, is to use the actual words that people are using to search for you. And the best way to do that is to go into Google Search Console, even if the data is limited, and look through the 1,000 rows of data that they give you for each URL, not just the first one or two, but look at all of them and start to combine that data in useful ways. And that's really hard to do as a human. It's to go in, download all the results, look at 1,000 rows of data, try to look at the word frequency and all that. So when we built Zippy, that's the first thing we did, is build a system that can parse all that data from Google via the API, take out keywords that you're already ranked number 1 for, that you're already getting high click-through rates for, take out branded terms, things like that, and find those most important keywords in all that data that users are actually coming to find your site. And then we can place those keywords, make sure you're placing those keywords in your title tags near the front and center. And when we do that, and when it works, it works really well. We've seen a lot of clients double, triple their traffic with unoptimized titles just by putting simple keywords in, but they didn't know what the keywords were because it was hidden in all that data. So you can do it yourself, but we find that automation helps a little bit. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
It answers it. We actually got another one on here on CTR, from Stefan, another Stefan. How much attention do you pay to structured data for CTR?
Yeah, so I try to make sure that I pay a lot of the answer is a lot. So I look at the SERPs, I see what structured data is being triggered for the query, and you can't always get it, if it's certain review snippets, things like that. But I try to make sure that every result has some SERP feature, whether it's FAQs or stars or video or an image in the SERP. I try to make sure every result has something, and that's gonna be SERP dependent. It's gonna be keyword dependent, but I pay a lot of attention to it. Yeah, it's very important.
Love it. Okay, I want to go back to like the meta title optimization, and you talk about including keywords and stuff like that. How about actual copywriting, getting them some clever copywriting? Is that something you pay attention to? And that's tricks. Yeah.
And that is the secret sauce that is very hard to optimize for, because you might add keywords to your title that are missing, and your ranking actually goes down, your click-through rate goes down. That's why the number one rule of titles is always test your titles. Always try a title, try another title, try another title until you hone it in and you get something that you're comfortable with. So the copywriting, we usually try to include, a power word. You can Google power words in whatever language that you're operating in English. There's something like 1,000 power words, and including one in your title. These do make a big difference. Adding numbers to your titles often, makes a big difference. It's not a ranking factor, but it's a click-through rate factor, and it's going to get you more traffic. But that's why you have to test. It's really hard to optimize for at scale, but you just have to be a human and get that in there.
Love it. And so there's a tool at Sightseer. Does that actually test for you, or is it kind of like helping you?
Yeah. So Sightseer, I should let you know, Sightseer is being run by one of the founders of Zippy, Devin Ellis. It's actually now a separate company. Okay. My involvement in that is limited, but it's still a great tool, and that I helped develop. So I still have some pride in it. But yeah, Sightseer will test for you, and in fact, it's not an A/B test, but when you implement a change, it will show you your traffic versus a forecasted traffic. So you can tell it helps you determine if the change that you made after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, which is usually enough time with a title tag change, has made a difference. And you can do this at scale across hundreds of URLs. And if things have gone badly, because that happened, and that is an expected result of title tag changes. You should expect if you change 100 title tags using data, you can expect maybe 50 of them went up, 30 of them went down, and 28% just had no difference whatsoever. And that's how it's supposed to work. The key is taking that 30% that went down and either reverting it back to the original or trying a new experiment. And you keep iterating on that until you have traffic up and to the right. The trick is, though, you don't want to get stuck in the gap of just optimizing your title tags all the time and thinking you've done your job as an SEO. You're going to plateau, and it's going to not work after a certain point.
All right. Thank you for sharing all that. So I want to get into our third topic for today, which is something that if you've written had a case study or had a study on ranking factors. And I mean, I've seen it. I was looking like you have 100 plus, and so is there any factors now that you probably move up as more important since you're in that article, like or has changed or even thrown into there? What are some of those things that you point out?
Yeah, it's funny. I wrote that in 2018. It needs a update, but it doesn't need that big of update, because I think that the article was actually a little ahead of its time, because it talked a lot about EAT. EAT, which has gained a lot more acceptance in the SEO community. At the time, it was kind of like, Google doesn't there's no EAT score, blah, blah, blah. We can ignore EAT. But yet every Google algorithm update has rewarded EAT more and more. And the other thing that I would include or change is I talked about CTR in the Google ranking factors, even though it's not actually a ranking factor per se. But today I would talk a lot more about click signals. And that is getting the first click when people click on your result, getting long clicks where people stay and consume your content for a longer period of time than, say, your competitors, and getting the last click. And that's when you satisfy the user and they don't go back to Google and do another search or click on another result. So the first clicks, long clicks, last clicks, I think those are, I suspect Google uses a version of those metrics much more than the general SEO community realizes or wants to admit to. And Google certainly doesn't want to admit to it. So that would be a much bigger part of ranking factors today if I were to rewrite that.
Love it. Well, speaking of the clicks, the different types of clicks you mentioned, which would be like the probably the highest priority click that would give you the most weight? Type of click.
I strive to be the last click. And that's really hard to, we don't have access to the metrics that Google has. Google has, when you use Chrome, you agree to their user agreement, and in that detailed, user agreement, they have the right to kind of look at how you're using websites and track that. And so they know how billions of people are using websites around the world. They don't need Google Analytics. They can track that using Chrome. And we don't have access to those metrics. We have things like bounce rate and time on site and number of pages per visit, which are poor proxies, but they're the best that we have. And so when I make website changes, when I'm testing something, I pay very close attention to those bounce rates, the time on site, the pages per visit, and generally you can see a relationship between those metrics and the ranking of how much traffic you're receiving if you do the job right. It's impossible to know if you're the last click, but that's what you got to strive for. You got to strive for answering those questions as completely as possible and giving users what they're looking for. And if you're not, you're probably not going to rank very well.
Love it, love it. Okay, guys, I'm coming close to my last few questions here. Please ask your questions in live chat if you want to get them answered. But one thing I kind of left out of here in this episode, I mean, we talked about it last week, is the whole Google helpful content update. I mean, everyone in the whole industry is talking about it. I want to save this for kind of your thoughts on, and have it shared here on the SEO Video Show. What's your thoughts on the whole Google helpful content?
I am here for it. I'm hoping the update is impactful. And so far we're watching the SERP trackers. Nothing's really happening. Google, but this is a trend in Google updates the past few years. They seem to go very slow, and where when an update first launches, you barely notice the results. But a year from now, man, things could be very different because they're testing something new. They don't want to disrupt, but I am here for this update because here's what's been happening in SEO the last, since forever. SEO always becomes commoditized. And that means that a very common strategy for SEO is you get a list of keywords and then you have to structure the content. So you see what else is ranking, and maybe you use a tool like Markup or ClearScope, which are excellent tools, by the way, or Surfer SEO. They all serve a purpose, and they see what's already ranking. And then you get a list of headers and a list of suggested content, and you fill it in. Right. And it's very templatized. And Google has in the past kind of rewarded that process. And so now we have SERPs that all look the same. They're all a copy of each other. If you search for anything with EAT that needs EAT, like medical queries, all 10 results look exactly the same because they're all copying the same content. And Google recognizes this as a problem. People are searching more for Reddit or things like that aren't as Google curated or SEO optimized. And so hopefully I'm hoping this update, which is supposed to reward more unique content, supposedly by what Google is saying, more content by actual authors, content that answers the user query so they're not going back and searching for more. I'm hoping it helps. I'm hoping it helps a lot. If I can rant for a minute, people talk about, the skyscraper technique, as a form of link building, and there's some misconceptions around, skyscraper technique. That's supposed to be this 5,000 word post. It's something that you throw all these design and research. All you have to do with the skyscraper technique is look at what's ranking and look at what's answering users' questions and just try to be that much better. Try to add your own something that distinguishes your result from the rest of the SERPs. I think every piece of content should have a little skyscraper to it. You don't have to reserve it for your big link building project. It just has to be individually unique and add something extra so that you are satisfying the user query. And I'm hoping the helpful content update rewards that type of content a little bit more than what we've seen. So I'm excited. Come on, Google, bring it on.
Love it. Love the explanation for that. I threw that out there last minute. Thank you for answering and helping us out with that one. And I didn't see any other questions come in. But so my last question I ask for all my SEO professionals that come on here is if someone wants to get into the SEO game, become an SEO professional themselves, what would be the best advice you'd give them?
Yeah. So I have some strong opinions on this. You should absolutely run your own site. I started CyrusShepard.com really early on. You should publish regularly. The best way to make a name for yourself in SEO is run an experiment and write about it, or do a case study and write about it, and make it something that's unique that the rest of the SEO industry hasn't seen before. We're hungry for information. I mean, the stupidest article will get shared 1,000 times on Twitter if it contains just a nugget of information. So run your own site, publish Teach others how to do it. That is the best way to learn SEO, but also get yourself noticed. And you can make an incredible career just by doing those two things. That's it. That's it. It's a simple industry. It's scary for a lot of people to put themselves out there, especially on social media, especially publishing that first article. Like, what do I know? But just do it. Get over the embrace your imposter syndrome, and just say you're a novice. Embrace being a novice, and say I'm learning, and this is my stuff. Come along on the journey with me. That's it.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, if there's any last things you want to say to make this episode feel complete for you, how can people get a hold of you? Please, the stage is yours.
Oh man, so I do most of my stuff on Twitter, so that's the best way to follow me. I'm writing at Zippy. I have a lot of articles and experiments and videos and results to share coming up. So be sure to follow me on Twitter, and so you can catch those updates. I appreciate it.
Thank you. There is one last thing that I always ask my SEO professionals on here, if they have any special talent, sing, rap, or anything like that.
Unfortunately, no, but I'm willing to embarrass myself and sing something for you if you want.
Let's do it. Sing us a song.
What are we going to sing?
I don't know.
So my name is Cyrus. So when I did karaoke back in the day, I'd always sing Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart. Oh, right. You can tell the world you never was my girl. You can tell my feet to hit the floor. And you can tell my hands, blah, 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 blah. They won't be reaching out to you no more. Woo. But don't tell my heart. Okay. That's it. All
right, Cyrus, thank you so much for that. Can you please hold on for one quick second while I sign off here?
You bet.
All right, guys. That concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That was an awesome episode. If you guys haven't watched the replay for all those nuggets that were dropped. Until then, I'll see you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO Video Show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul-Andre De Vera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!